Hello guys, welcome to the next session on Oracle Server Suite Policy. So today we will continue to look on different adapters. So till now we have gone through the file adapter, database adapter, and today we look at a new kind of adapter called a JMS adapter. Okay, so as you know, adapter is basically a kind of a wrapper code on top of the uh, on top of some technology. It could be a database or a JMS or a queue or whatever it is. Okay, so basically what adapters do is they will wrap the internal implementation and expose your underlying service as a SOAP web service. Okay, so that we can easily use those in our SOAP applications. So today we will look into the JMS adapter. We'll see what are the different concepts behind the JMS adapter. Okay, or what are the different concepts behind JMS as such, and then we will do a small example on a JMS adapter. Just a moment, guys. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so let's look at the concepts of a JMS. Okay, so you all know what is a JMS. JMS is nothing but the Java messaging service. It is basically a message-oriented middleware. So it's, I mean, in simple terms, it is a queue. Okay, so wherein you put messages and you take out the messages from a queue. Okay, so it is as good as a pool of wherein you put all the messages. Okay, and then whoever wants, I mean whoever is interested, they can actually get into this and get the messages. Okay, so basically what is the advantage of having a queue? Basically they are persistent. I mean, let's say you have a producer and you have a consumer. Okay, so when this guy is actually producing the message, um, you need not have the consumer up and running. Okay, so the producer will actually produce a message and then he's done, his work is done. So whenever the consumer needs a message, he will come and then fetch the message. So basically, though the two services which need an interaction between them are not ready at a same single point, but still they are able to talk to each other using the queues. Okay, basically asynchronous messaging. Okay, so asynchronous messaging is basically this guy sends a request and the other guy has to be ready. Otherwise, you get a connection error, right? But instead, if you use a queue, like it would be both synchronous, both asynchronous, and both are completely decoupled. Whenever this guy has time, he puts in a message, and whenever the other guy has time, let's see response. So today we will see how we interact with a JMS queue. Okay, so JMS is maybe database adapters are the number one adapters that we would be using. I mean, in terms of usage in SOA projects, because you will have lot many databases to connect to or database tables. And the second most popular adapter in most of the SOA projects would be JMS adapter. So let's see. Let us first understand what are the different concepts behind a JMS. Okay, so in JMS there are two types of interactions that can happen. One is the pub/sub model, which is called publish and subscribe. Okay, and the other one is point to point. Okay, so let's look at point to point first. So let's say this is the infrastructure, the queuing infrastructure, and you have a queue. Point to point is basically service 1 will produce a message which is specific to service 2. So whenever this guy is ready, he will get the message. Okay, so and the moment he reads the message is gone from the queue. Okay, so point to point is basically from A to B. It is specific to a particular service. The other one is publish and subscribe. So publish and subscribe is basically service 1 would publish a message and whoever are subscribed to that queue will get the message. It is as simple as subscribing to a blog. Let's say I have this blog soartutor.com and then all you guys are subscribed to that blog. Okay, so whenever I publish a post, you would all receive an email. Okay, since you are all interested, and then you would come and read the blog, right? So basically all your subscribers. So as a blog writer, I don't know how many people are subscribed, okay? Or I don't know how many people are interested in me. My only duty is to write the blog, okay? So it is subscribers' headache to come into my blog and read them. So it works that way. Publish subscribe is basically the consumer, and I mean the service producer will just produce a message and he is unaware of all the consumers. Whereas in point to point he would be aware of your consumer. Okay? Those are the two different interaction patterns. Now this, I mean whatever we are speaking, this is not specific to SOA, it is basically a messaging concept. Okay, so it applies to all the messaging queues, even Java messaging service. Okay, so these are the two interaction patterns and we will see how to deal with these two. Actually, the way we deal with point-to-point or public subscribe is exactly the same. Okay, so for a point-to-point, the JMS infrastructure you require is a queue, and for public subscribe, you call it as a topic. So that is the only difference. I mean, the how it is implemented is little different, because when I put a message into the queue in a pub sub model, like if one guy reads, that doesn't mean that the message vanishes. The message still stays and all the subscribers can read it. Whereas in a point to point, it's a different story, right? So the underlying infrastructure is different, but the way we use it in SOA is almost the same. I would say just, yeah, I mean, it only differs on whether picking a queue or a topic. Okay, just the JNDA name of these guys, that's all. Other than that, it is exactly the same. Okay. So I have given all the underlying details in this blog. Okay, so it would tell you now all this is specific to Oracle SOA, but basically one of the things it will tell you what is it. Okay, maybe it is there somewhere. Maybe it is there in my notes. I can send you. But basically, I mean, what I wanted to show you is the irregular concepts and whatever I explained. I have that in a very neat notes. Okay. So how do we deal with, I mean, what is the, how do we deal with the JMS adapters? Just like the database adapter, even for JMS adapter, you need to do certain configurations. Okay. Since file adapter was very simple, like we didn't do any configuration, but usually for the other adapters, we need to do, because for all the other things like the database or the JMS, you need to establish a connection. You need to have a pool of resources. So such things you'll have to do yourself, right? So, uh, so configuring the JMS resources is completely an administrative topic. As a SOA developer, you are not expected to do that in your project. Like your admin would set it up for you, and he will give the details. You just have to use it. But since that is, I mean, I feel that it is important to know about those things. Let me show you how do we do that. Okay. So I've already started my servers. All the configuration, if you see all the configurations we are doing in console, right? Because I mean, whenever we are doing in console, that means we are basically doing it on the WebLogic server, not the SOA side of it. Okay, EM is all Fusion middleware stuff, but whatever we are doing on the console, it is all like generic stuff. Okay, so even yesterday, like connecting, creating the pools, etc., we did it in console, right? So it's not, it's all the WebLogic resources. So let me go to the console again. Or let us write down the steps. Okay, okay, we have here itself, so we'll continue. I will send you the slides today, okay, because there is nothing much in the slides for adapters. I mean, the basic things, whatever we are talking about, that's why I'm not going separately on the slides. You can refer to that as the notes. Here also, thing would be the same. First thing is, instead of creating a, see, data source is basically a source of data. And we are talking about, when we are talking about database adapter, we're talking about data source. Whereas when you're talking about the JMS, okay, you basically wanted a connection to establish, right? So first you need to create a connection factory. And then you have a connection factory. So connection factory is nothing but WebLogic resource through which you can connect to a queue. Okay, so the moment you have the connection, you can actually connect to the queue. But since the SOA, SOA is basically a generic thing, right? And you are dealing with thousands of requests. So obviously, SOA thinks about performance, and instead of having a single connection, as and when required, instead of creating a new connection, we would actually create a pool of connections, right? Just like our database adapter, even in JMS also, we would create a connection pool. Okay, so this will be the basic configuration. Once you create the connection pool, okay, or maybe I would say the step before this is create a queue or a topic on which you want to publish or subscribe. Okay, so maybe this equivalent step here is create a table in your database to which you want to insert or delete a record, insert or read a record. Okay, so since the table is already there, we haven't done it in the database, but here it would be same. So, or I would say this is kind of a prerequisite, so I would say 0 on this. The first step is to create a connection factory. Second step is to create a connection. Okay, so let us do all these steps one by one. Go to the console. If the queue is already there, in your regular projects, you will be provided with the queue details. You don't have to do any of these steps, so you're good. But if you want to create a queue yourself, so how you do is under the services, under messaging, there is something called JMS module. Okay, so module, it is basically kind of a folder. Okay, so you can create your own one, say new JMS module, give your own name and do it. That's how I did it in the blog. Okay, or just to save some time, you can use any module. Okay, it doesn't matter actually. You don't use the module name anyway. Okay. So here you just click on new. So this is a place where you can create a connection factory or a queue or a topic or a distributed queue. When you have multiple servers, so multiple managed servers, that is where you have a distributed queue, because the queue will be common to all the servers, or you can do different things for that matter. So for our example, we'll create a queue, okay, and I would say it as maybe 12C batch 1. I would, okay, let's not begin with a number. So queue underscore 12C batch 1, okay, and then JNDM name, because this name doesn't matter actually. JNDM name is what matters. So I would say JMS underscore this one, okay, and then you just copy it. You can give any name. JMS prefix is not mandatory, but that is the standard. So just let me know if my voice is low. I'm feeling a little bit tired today. Say next, okay, and sub deployments. Okay, so sub deployment is basically, what it represents is it basically bundles a set of servers. Okay, so let's say you have 10 different managed servers in your project, in your QA environment, okay, and you want to create a queue, okay, or you want to create any of the resources that you see. So instead of doing it in each and every server separately, you can actually create a sub deployment wherein you will bundle all those servers as a sub deployment, and you can use that. Okay, so once you select this, you'll have everything. So you just select one and it gets deployed to everything. This is all admin concept, so don't worry about that. And then say finish it off. Okay. Sometimes you might get errors. Okay, so if you get errors, you just try it again. If it doesn't go off, because sometimes when the JMS resource is either full or it is it is in some work, like it gives you errors, but you can just do it after some time and it goes away. Okay, so my queue is created. So what is my second thing? So queue is basically a prerequisite, like a table. Okay, and then my first thing is to create a connection factory. So you would do it in the same way. So create a connection factory, and I would say it as on factory underscore batch one, and then I would say JMS underscore this one, leave the default and say and finish it off. Okay, so my connection factory name is this, and okay, so now that you created a connection, okay, so you will create the connection to the JMS, but where do you create the connection pool? Yesterday, if you observe, like data source we have created separately, but where did you create the connection pool? You create the connection pool on the adapter jar, right? Because it is inside the adapter that you are having a pool of connections, because that, I mean, whatever the code required to create the pool, that will be residing inside your jars. So the same applies here also. For creating the connection pool, you will have to go to the actual application. So go to deployments. Okay, once when you do it twice or thrice, this will be very easy. Maybe now it might be a little confusing, but okay. So connection pool is something related to your adapter. So you will be doing it in the adapter. So just look for file adapter. Okay, as I told you, each and every component that you see here is nothing but a set of code, right? And every component in Oracle Server Suite is implemented in Java. I mean, you don't care, like, we don't have to worry about what language it is used, but I'm just telling you. So each component that you see there will be present in the deployment. So go to the file adapter and same steps, configurations, connection pools. Okay, go to connection factory and then here create a new connection factory. Okay, new pool of, and then give a proper name. I would say EIS underscore JMS pool. Give a proper name. Okay, sometimes the deployment plans, I mean, it gives you options, so you can select whatever, and then till it is green, you can actually do it. This part I'm not really familiar, completely specific to admins, but usually you get options when one is full, so you have to select one or the other. Okay, once it is done, you save all the changes. So basically what you have done, okay, so now that you have created the connection pool, but how we have to link it, right? So we have a pool of connection. I mean, we have created a pool and then we have this connection to the JMS queue. So we actually want to link this pool to this connection so that this pool will contain n number of connections, right? So you have to go into the one that you created, and here there is only this. One second, I think. Oh, why did we do it in the file adapter? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, my bad. Apologies for that. So we did in file adapter. It is JMS. We're talking about JMS, right? I'm sorry. Whatever I created, I'm just deleting it. Okay. Go to deployments. Go to JMS Adapter. Configuration, outbound connection pools. Create a connection pool. Okay. Give this name and finish it up. Okay. And now you go into this. Here you will link to your connection factory. Okay. So basically you are creating a pool of these resources. Okay. A pool of these connection factors. So click on this and save it. Okay. So as I told you yesterday, you might need a restart. So instead of restarting the whole server, maybe you can try out restarting only this deployment. Okay. If it doesn't work, then you may have to restart the whole server. So let us restart only this deployment. So go to JMS Adapter. I would say update and redeploy. Finish it off. Okay. So your JMS Adapter, because we did some configurations on this application, right? So we are basically redeploying. Okay. An error occurred during activation. Attempting to create connection factory with the name already exists. Oh, okay. I mean, even our, why does it exist? We have removed that in the file adapter, right? Maybe there are traces of it. Let's give it a separate. Or let's see. So what it is saying is that name already exists. So initially we have created it in file adapter. So let's see if it is there. Maybe it's not completely removed. Let's go to our JMS adapter and give a different name. Okay. Maybe some traces are there. If you restart, the trace would go off. But instead, I would use another name. Oh, did I use JMS? Okay. So JMS, I mean, basically I gave the connection factory and the connection pool same name. That's the problem. Okay. So maybe just to avoid something, just to give a unique name. But you know the concept, right? What we're doing. Okay. And then inside this, you'll give the connection factory. So it will create a pool of this resources. Okay. It is saved now without any problem. That is good. And then we'll have to restart the deployment or redeploy. Okay. Okay. So what we did till now is basically did all the configuration required. So we created a queue, created a connection factory, created a pool. Earlier the error was we have used the same name for both connection factory and pool. That is the reason it gave us the error. Now we have used a new name. What was that? EIS, then one, right? Just to make sure we'll check it again because this is the JNDI name. We'll be using it in our adapter. So just make sure. Oh, perfect. Yeah, the changes are done. Okay, so we are done with our basic prerequisites. Okay, so let's see how we use a JMS adapter. Okay, so we have this queue, right? What we will do is we will try to create a message in this queue. Okay, in the next example, we will try to read the message in the queue. Okay, it is, I mean, it's almost simple like writing to a database, reading to a database. So what we'll do is we will use the existing schema just in the interest of time. We already have so many schemas in our MDS, right? So we can use any schema that is already there, and then we will try to put it in JMS. Okay. So let me create a new SOA project. and then MD purpose. So the steps for creating a composite still remains the same. First is create the schema. Okay, second is create the components. Third is do all the mapping, all the wiring and mapping. Then deploy. Fourth is deploy. This is what we have been doing for literally everything, right? Okay, we have this JMS adapter. So what we want to do here, we basically want to, let me do it with a pen here. Okay, so we want to write into the JMS, right? So let's say this is the JMS that we are talking about, and we have a queue in this. We already know the name. Okay, so how does my composite talk to this JMS? We would basically use a wrapper. Okay, so that wrapper is nothing but the JMS adapter. Okay, I will use the wrapper, and then I will give all the configuration details, meaning I will give the connection pool name so that this wrapper will connect to the underlying queue. Okay, so whatever I give it here, it will put in the queue. Okay, and then my consumers cannot obviously talk to this, so I would need a web service client, because all my components would need a web service client, right? And then obviously these two guys cannot connect to each other, so I will have a mediator in this. Okay, so this is how our composite will look like. So I will leave the diagram as it is, so that I will show you where we are connecting. Okay, so drag and drop a JMS adapter. Okay, give the name as produce message, because in JMS you say, instead of write and read, we say produce and consume. Okay, produce JMS adapter, or say JMS producer, producer 1. Okay, and then what is the type? Oracle Web Logic JMS, and then what is the server? Okay, where did we create the queue? We have created the queue in the server, right? So you will create the connection, our regular application server connection. Say next. Okay, you can define schema later, and here you will have operations like consume, produce, or it can even be a synchronous request reply. Okay, say the moment you submit a request to the queue, it will give you an acknowledgement. Okay, so it cannot be just simple fire and forget, right? Let's say you are posting a very important message. At least you have to get the acknowledgement. Okay, because the other guy tomorrow, he shouldn't say that he did not receive the message, right? Just like if you receive a post, you would do a signature so that the other guys know. I mean, everyone knows that you have accepted the message. In the same way, request reply will give you a acknowledgement. Or synchronous consume is if there is a queue and it is continuously being populated, and you want to continuously take out the message. I mean, it would be a single message, so single transaction, but it would be continuously polling to that. It would be consumed. I mean, the text is already there, but mostly you will either do a consume, produce, or request reply. Mainly consumer produce. So in my case, I am producing the message. Okay, what is the destination name? Destination is basically where you want to write. In this case, it is a queue. Okay, so just browse for it. Since you have already given the application connection details here, okay, so when you browse it, it will go to the server, it will connect to the server and get all the JMS related things, okay, like the queues, topics, connection factors, etc. But I am interested only in the queues. Okay, and then where did I create it? So you can just scroll down into our JMS module I've created it. If you have your own module, it will come here. And where is my queue? This one, queue underscore quasi batch one. Select your queue. Okay, there are other properties which you wanted to do, and time to live. This is one of the important properties. How much after putting in the queue, like how much time you want the message to be there in the queue. If you give -1, it stays forever. Okay, but usually, because I mean, you want the message in the queue only for a certain amount of time based on your business requirement, so you can do it here. Maybe we'll say 2 minutes. and then say next. Okay, this here. So, okay, I'm giving the queue name, but what is a connection factory or connect, I mean, what is a connection pool through which I want to connect to this? So the connection pool, we already have it. So give this name. Just like in DB adapter, we have given the connection pool. We give this. And then what is the type of the message? See, irrespective of whether you're dealing with a JMS or a DB or a file or whatever, SOA always is XML based, right? So always you need a schema. So even in this case, like in which format should I want to write? I mean, I can write in literally any format, right? So let me get it from the MDS. We already have it yesterday. We use the same ones. So I have this purchasing schema in which I have the file format type or PO request, anything. You can literally take any schema and then say next and finish it. Okay. So okay, now I have done this, right? Now, so this wrapper is nothing but the JMS producer that I've highlighted, and the connection is basically established by the connection factory, this one. So the JNDI name that I see here, this one is basically represents this connection. Okay, okay, basically the pool of connection, and this one represents the exact queue which you wanted to talk. And I am done. Okay, now that I want a SOAP web service for my consumers, so I would say JMS producer underscore client. Okay, and it's a one-way service. So what is the type? The type you can take anything. Let me use the same type from the MDS. You can have complex types also so that you do all the transformations in XSLT. I don't want to waste time on that. And then have a mediator in between. This process remains the same literally for everything. Okay. But as a beginner, you might want to give appropriate names, because if you have too many components on the composite, like you might be getting a little confused. So as a developer, maybe just give an appropriate names. I'm not giving it here. Okay. So since we have already wired and there is only one wire or one connection into it, we'll get a one routing rule, and you have to create the transformation from left to right. What happened? Maybe it is not able to build the schema. Like while creating the transformation file, it is saying that it is not able to get the schema, and so it is not able to create the XLT. I mean, created, but gave me some problems. So let us do it again. Okay. Sometimes this works crazy. Okay. So since here, so like till now we are doing like one by one, right? But in some cases, your source and target schemas might be same. So in that case, you don't want to do it again and again. Let's say there are 100 elements. You don't want to waste your time. So just drag and drop your headers, and it will automatically match based on some criteria. And then whatever knowledge it has, based on that, it will map everything. And if the names are different, it won't map it. You will have to manually do that. So from left to right, we have done everything. Okay, all the connections, all the transformations, everything is done. And we have even restarted the JMS adapter. So everything should work. If the JMS adapter is not refreshed properly, the configuration that we have done on the JMS adapter would not take place, and we might get an error. But we will see. Since we have updated, I mean, we have redeployed, we shouldn't get it. But just in case if you get it, restart your server. Okay, I'm done. So let me open my enterprise manager. Okay, let me test it. So if you are not already familiar with SOAP UI, then start using it. Okay, if you are already familiar, then that's okay. Give some details here. Okay, and then test web service. It's a one-way service. Okay, and when you look at the launch flow trains, okay, there is no error. Otherwise, you would have seen errors here. So that means the JMS is proper. Okay, but how do we check it? We can check all the messages in our queue. So go to JMS modules, go to my queue, I mean whatever we have created. What is the queue that we have created? Queue underscore policy dashboard, right? So here there is a tab called monitoring. This is where you will see everything. See, I have a message. Okay, and it will stay here for 2 minutes. So you will come after 2 minutes, they should go away. Okay, so here is my message. Okay. So this is how you deal with JMS. We have seen a simple example, but however complex it is, I mean, what will be the requirements for JMS? You either have to read it or write it. That's all, right? So irrespective of your complexity, the way that you deal with JMS would be the same. Okay. As an exercise, what I want you to do is you do this example first, so you know the queue name, right? And what you can do is maybe you can do in the same composite, or you can do in a different composite. What you do is you create a JMS adapter that reads from the queue, from the same queue, okay, and puts it either in a file or a database, or you create a database table or a file, whatever it is, and then you basically stuff it in the file. Okay, and how you test it? There are two ways to test it. Okay, so you know what it is, right? So create a JMS consumer which reads a message from the queue and then puts it in DB. Okay, this is fine. The way you test it is you can either put a message in the queue directly, or since we are using the same queue, okay, you can put the message through this web service reference. So when I click on this web service reference, give a message, it would put it in the queue, right? And the moment it comes into the queue, this composite will automatically fire. Okay, you are not firing it. This composite will automatically fire, and then it puts in a DP. So your start point will be this, and your end point will be this. And if you observe, though both composites are completely independent, one is triggering the other. Okay, so this is, I mean, you can see the decoupled nature of these things. Okay? So you may try to do this example. So once you do this, like you will be done with all the things on JMS. And the same guide holds good for JMS adapters also. Like don't go through everything, but whatever properties are there on the wizard, just go through them. And one of the interview questions, I mean, most of the interview questions will be based on the options that you see on the wizard. It could be database, file, or JMS. And most of the questions will be based on these three adapters. That is the reason why I'm covering all these three in the course. And I mean, we wouldn't be covering any other adapters in the course, but everything would be almost similar. Two parts, configuration and usage. Usage will be always, it will be very simple. configuration differs. For JMS, you have to do, because each technology has different things, right? So based on the technology, you will have to configure it differently. But don't worry about configuration. Configuration is never a job duty for a consultant. It is an admin guy's duty. So try to do this example, whatever I gave you. That's all for today. So as I told you, this will be a quick session. And tomorrow, please don't miss tomorrow's session, or even if you miss it, try to finish it off. Tomorrow we'll start Bipel, and Bipel is like, Bipel is a heart and soul of SOA. Okay, so don't miss it. Tomorrow we'll do a very basic example, but I will tell you what is Bipel, what are the interaction patterns, etc. Okay. Any questions?
No, Ravi.
Okay, fine. Alright guys, and I'll upload the video today, and I'm forgetting to send the examples, whatever we did. I will do all those today. And just one more thing, like since those are jar files, I will not be able to send you through email. So I will remove the extension .jar. So when you download it, just include the extension .jar, and then you can import into your file. I've shown you how to import, right? It's there in the other video. You can refer to that. And all right, guys. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry. I'm